All right, I think we're live. Check, make sure we're working over here. All right, I think we are live. I am Drew Badger, the founder of EnglishAnyone.com and the English Fluency Guide, and today we're going to talk about grammar. I know people might think this is the maybe least entertaining, least fun part of language learning, but it's actually the most entertaining, and it should be the most fun if you do it the right way. And remember, grammar is really the foundation of everything, so once you understand the rules, and you can learn all these things with vocabulary and pronunciation, and this improves your listening and everything else about how you learn all at the same time. So we're going to talk about this. All right, Taslim, nice to see you there with some lovely hearts. Hello and welcome everybody out there. So this is actually a very simple idea, and I'm going to allow you to ask me any grammar questions you have, and we're going to apply this principle. So which day of your class is live? I don't have a schedule for these. I just go live when I feel like it. I enjoy the freedom of that. I know I mentioned this a lot. So these videos are unscheduled, but usually they are on Mondays and Thursdays, but I don't have a specific schedule for them. But I do make them available so you can watch them after. So all of my live videos are available to be watched on the YouTube channel anytime, and you don't need to be live in order to enjoy them. Nils, happy birthday to you. I wish you all the best. Well, thank you very much, Nils. It's nice to be appreciated. And I was thinking a lot lately about you all. I appreciate everyone out there who comes and lets me do what I do. This kind of really big problem of helping people trying to learn a language is something I've been working on for a long time, and you allow me to do that. So it's really great to be able to do this with you. All right, so let's get into this. It should be actually a very quick lesson, really just understanding the principle of how this works. So you can start using grammar correctly, and it will also, yes, thank you again for all the birthday wishes out there. I do appreciate it. But I want to make sure we get right into the lesson. So I will answer any questions you have, but if right now you already have questions about grammar points that you struggle with or something hard to understand, just post it in the chat, and I'll come back to check chat in a little bit. All right, so as I usually talk about, and this will be new for new people coming to these videos. So there are two basic ways of learning English. You can learn English as a second language, and so this is learning it through your native language, or you can learn it as a first language, the same way natives do, and that means you're understanding everything all in English, you're not using translations, and you're also not trying to study rules or grammar. You're just learning to understand these things and having it be, I guess, intuitive is the best way to understand it. But really, you're just trying to come up with the, basically a sense that you understand something really well, and that gives you the confidence to use it correctly. All right, so how this works for learning grammar specifically, we have, again, in the English as a second language approach, typically you have some kind of, like you get a textbook, and then it will give you maybe like an example or two of a particular grammar point, and then maybe you get some example sentences or something, and often there is a translation of that in like whatever these are. It could be the example sentences or some explanation of how the grammar works. You might even get, it looks like a math problem or something. It's like this point plus this or whatever, and it really makes it more complicated to understand the particular grammar. But the opposite way, or really the way to help you understand it as a human would learn a native language, and this is the same way you learned your native language, is all we really want to do is understand situations, and we want to compare different things to make sure these examples are clear. So let's say we have two different sentences in here. Let me go, I'll write these over here. So we have on, oh no, where's my, I don't know where my other eraser went. That's weird. My regular eraser is gone. But no matter. Here we go. On the table and under the table. Often when little children are learning English, this is the way they're doing it. And you will see this in some beginning English textbooks, especially if they're covering prepositions. But the point is that you can really apply this to anything you want to learn. And we want to find different examples of things. They could be related or they could be unrelated, but something that helps us really understand the grammar within the English. So rather than, is the marker okay or is the light not clear? I should be okay. Was like, is red not coming through? I know some people maybe are colorblind, but it could be, I don't know, I think the light is okay though, maybe. Hopefully you all can see. I'll use blue. So we have on the table and we have under the table right here. So if I could just tell you those things, you're not really learning so much, but to see the difference here. So if we have on the table, so we'll draw a little table over here, and let's say there's a little ball on the table. And then we draw another table down here. And this one, the ball is under the table. And so in this example, your brain is looking at what is different between these two sentences. So the only thing different is the position of the ball. The only thing different is the position of the ball. And so that's why it's easier to understand on the table and under the table. So I could give you the exact same thing in Japanese just as an example so you can hear how this works, so you can be reminded of what it's like to learn your native language. So teburu no ue ni, teburu no shita, teburu no ue, teburu no shita, ue, shita, teburu no ue, teburu no ue, teburu no shita. Okay, so that's the same thing in Japanese. It would be the same thing in English, but even if you're not quite sure or you're not perfectly sure what the grammar means or how it works, you're starting to understand it more like a native. So all we need to do in order to like stop doing this and stop translating in our heads and using incorrect grammar and worrying about making mistakes is we try to get a lot of different examples to really make sure we understand whatever the particular grammar point is. So here it's just looking at these prepositions, on, under, or next to, or anything like that. So we want to look at one example and then compare all of these different things. So this is a very basic example. You could do something like even with have, like if you want to do the like present continuous or present perfect or something, where we want to compare these different grammar points, or could be grammar tenses, whatever you're looking at, but it's the comparison of these things within English that lets you understand them like a native. So because of English as a second language lessons, it gives you the habit of thinking and translating when you speak. So because you learn this way, this is how you speak. So how you learn is how you speak. So if you learn English this way, then you will speak without hesitating or thinking about rules or translations or that kind of thing. Hopefully this makes sense. All right, so this is, again, a very quick lesson, but I'm hoping you will tell me specific grammar points or things that you have trouble with, and I can help you understand them. So in the same way, we can look at phrasal verbs. That's another example of something like this where we could like turn something off versus turn something over. And so you can look at the slight differences in what the situation is. So this is the situation over here. So we'll just put an S up here for the situation, and this is the vocabulary. So remember that native English speakers are connecting situations and vocabulary. But people who are learning English as a second language, they are taking their native language and translating it into English. We don't want to do that. We want to connect everything all in English, and this is how you understand it, so you use it correctly. All right, pretty simple. All right, so if you do have, I'm going to go back through chat, but if you do have questions about specific grammar points, let me know. Whether it's a basic thing or more difficult, whatever, I will help you apply this same thing and show you how to start doing that yourself to make it understandable. I remember this was something I did, I do it all the time as I'm learning Japanese, but just a specific example came to mind of like ikuso versus like ikiso. And this is just a Japanese example, but like trying to understand logically or trying to study or repeat or look at those different things, it was difficult for me to understand the difference, but comparing different examples within just regular situations in Japanese made it understandable for me. All right. Inversion. If only. Nice haircut, says Bridget. Thank you. Yes, I get my hair cut yesterday. It's slowly going. There's not much left to cut. I'm thinking about just shaving it all off. But my wife is she's not letting me do that. She says it's okay still. You should keep it on. All right. So thank you again all for the happy birthday wishes over there. You changed my thing in English, says Joel. Glad to hear it. All right, let's see here. Mamadou says, I moved to the U.S. a couple of months ago. Although I went to an English school back in my country, it is quite easy for me to write English on the spot. When it comes to speaking, I struggle. Yeah, and there can be many reasons for that, but usually the foundation reason is because you probably learned English as a second language. And so this can mean translations, but it also means the way of learning. So when you're thinking that you can't connect directly to the language like this, so you need to get explanations and you need people to explain how the grammar works rather than seeing how the grammar works. So here, like, we actually want you to understand, like, oh, look at that. So the situation is different. We actually have, like, the ball is up here on the table and the ball is down here under the table. You can see that, and even in different languages, you would be able to understand that, and you would start to think about these things in that native language. So you're thinking about them in English. Now, often people, when they're studying in the ESL way, because you think and translate, when you're writing, you have time to think about things and think, is this using the right grammar point or the right word or something? And that's why you would be able to write just fine. But when you have to speak, the whole point of fluent communication means you can do it automatically. So without stopping to think, like right now, imagine if I had to think every moment if I'm using the right word or not, or if I'm using, I don't know, something, I don't know what exactly it would be. But like, if I have to do that, if I have to think and translate when I'm trying to speak, that's a huge problem for me. So I obviously can't communicate, and that's why we want you to stop doing this, because this leads to all of the issues that people have about struggling with grammar, communication, using the wrong word, pronunciation errors, not being able to understand natives. Okay, so how you learn is how you speak. I will repeat this again and again so people really understand it. But again, so over here we have the same thing. How you learn is how you speak. When you can understand something very well, then you can use it without thinking and translating. So that's how you do that. That's how you solve that problem. Let's see. Everyday meditation, hi, give subtitles in all videos. Yes, I think there are subtitles in most videos. And usually for these live videos, it takes a while. Google is not processing videos instantaneously. So you have to wait usually like at least a couple hours or a day. Hello, Bogdan. Nice to see you there from Serbia and from Tajikistan. So I had a couple of job interviews, continues Mamadou. In an industry that I have experience in, and although I got the skills to do the job, I struggled a lot in speaking in English, which made them hesitant to hire me. Yes, and so your ability to communicate is often more important than the ability to do the actual job. I know that sounds weird, but often people are evaluating you that way. So if I'm a manager at a company and I get even a written resume from someone, a CV, if I'm looking at that and I see grammar errors on that, or the writing is weird, the person doesn't look like they're expressing themselves well, then I will probably not hire that person. So even if they're really good at the job, they might lose that job because the way they communicate. And so this is native English speakers who also do that, like younger people now. Over time, the language gets more degraded, so it gets worse and worse over time because people don't care, or they're using cell phones and saying LOL and OMG and other things like that in their text, and they forget how to spell or how to use grammar when they actually have to get a job or something. So all those things are very important. But again, the solution to all of them comes from learning English as a first language rather than learning English as a second language. All right, let's see. Hi from Thailand. Let's see. So hopefully that advice makes sense. Bogdan says, huge respect for you, my man. Well, thank you very much. I watched several videos for you and found your method pretty original. Thank you. All right, so this is a grammar mistake right here. Well, thank you very much. But I will just help you correct that since we are talking about grammar in this video. So I watched several videos for you. Now, this is obviously a more difficult example, but this is a perfect chance to show you how this works. So let me erase this example. So let's talk about these two different things. So I watched, what was that specific example? I watched several videos for you. I watched, let's just say, just to make the sentence easier, 3 videos for you. I watched 3 videos for you. Now, the correct thing, depending on what you want to say, let's compare the meaning of this and another sentence here. So I watched 3 videos of you. All right, we're just going to change one word and look at the difference here. We've got for and looking at of. Now, I watched 3 videos for you means like you're doing something as a favor for me. Like I asked you, hey, can you please go and watch 3 videos? So you're doing something for my benefit. All right? But if you watch 3 of my videos, that means you're watching my videos and you're like learning from that. So I'm guessing you probably mean the second one. Like I watched 3 of your videos. Or I watched 3 videos of yours, or 3 of your videos, you can say that. But notice like even just one word difference, that makes a big difference in the meaning of the sentences. So I watched 3 videos for you. And we can look at even more examples of for. So right now we're comparing 2 of the same sentences with just one word different. I watched 3 videos for you. Now we can make this an even more simple example, like I went to the store for you. I went to the store for you. Like I did it for your benefit. So I asked you, can you please go to the store? And you went to the store for me. You did it for me, to do something for someone else. But if you watched 3 of my videos, those are just videos I created that you watched. All right? So in order to correct these kinds of things, we look at similar sentences. And we want to try to make them basically the same except for one difference. It's like a little, like a science experiment. All right, but hopefully this makes sense. All right, so that wasn't a specific question, but it was a good chance to look at that, though. All right, let's see. Louis from Chicago. Tsubasa, hey, good morning. Nice to see you there. Inversion, if only. What do you mean, lolly lolly? What does that mean? Let me know if. What do you mean if only inversion? What do you mean? Let me know if you have let me know a specific try to write a sentence or something that you'd like me to look at. So good morning. Oh, I'm late for your class. I am coming. Don't do it, says Nils. You're saying don't shave my head, I'm guessing. Oh, happy birthday. Otanjobi omedetou. Arigatou gozaimasu. I remember when your hair was long, a long time ago. Yes, a long time ago. And you could actually go back and watch older videos and watch. I should make a video. It's like, see the hair get longer or shorter or whatever. I have to work with what I have, Carlos from Houston, Texas. All right. Mikhail says, at, on, in prepositions in there applying to the places and areas. I'm at a park, also in a park. I'm at a bench and also at the beach and also on the beach. Okay, good examples. So prepositions, remember we can use multiple words. We can use different words to talk about the same situation. All right, but the nuance is just a little bit different. But it's okay usually to just, there are different ways. Like again, in the English as a first language approach, we have a situation. So we're just going to put, let's say we put a person. I'll use like this, imagine this is a, oh my goodness, this, I don't know why I just drew that so badly. I'm trying to draw a building, but I drew a shirt. I guess I'm trying to draw a roof on a building over here. Let's just say this is a building here. Okay, so this is a restaurant. So I'll just put food up here. So this is a restaurant over here, and we can talk. So the situation over here is this. So we have a person, and let's say they are calling their friend on the phone and trying to say where they are. Now, what could we say about this? What different ways could we say this? So if we have this situation right here, the idea of the restaurant itself is like the building, but also usually around the building there's like a kind of area around there. Thank you for correcting me. No, it's my pleasure. That's why we're here. So we have an area around the building, and so we can talk about this situation as at the restaurant. So right now I'm at the restaurant. So I could be at the restaurant here, I could be at the restaurant here, I could be at the restaurant up here. I'm still at the restaurant. Oh, this is your house. I'm at the restaurant over here. I'm like in front of the restaurant or in back of the restaurant. So right now I could also be next to the restaurant. I could be under the restaurant. Like if I'm like under the ground even, I could be under the restaurant. And so there are different situations, or we can have one situation like this and just different ways of expressing this. So I could be at the restaurant where I'm out here. Let me erase all these other examples. So in any of these other examples that I had, we are at the restaurant. So you can think of the restaurant, there's like a kind of bubble around it. You are in that particular bubble or space. So if I'm standing over here, I'm not at the restaurant anymore. But if I get closer, now I am at the restaurant. Okay? So at just talks about being in a particular place. Now, if I'm up here, let's erase this. Now, if I'm sitting up here, again, I'm still at the restaurant. I'm at the restaurant right now. I'm in that general area. So if a friend of mine calls me, he says, "Where are you?" I say, "Hey, I'm at the restaurant." But then he comes to the restaurant and he says, "Oh, where are you? I don't see you anywhere." I say, "No, look up here. I'm on the restaurant." So in this case, now we're talking about like the kind of physical, more specific place about where something is. Or I say, "Oh, I'm in the restaurant over here." In the restaurant. So if you're trying to be more specific about a physical location, you can be using in or on or next to or in front of or behind. Okay? So in versus inside, it's the same thing. You can be in the restaurant or inside the restaurant. Both of those are fine. Again, there are multiple ways to say something. And this is why it's so important to learn things as a first language. Because when you're learning them as a second language, you usually get one example. And then when you hear something different, like, wait a minute, my teacher told me in. But in a real conversation, someone said inside. And suddenly you are worried, like, oh no, what does that mean? What's the difference? And there is no difference. It's just two different ways of talking about the same thing. So I can be in, I can be inside. Okay? So I'm at the restaurant. Same thing if I have, here's a beach over here. We'll put a little beach. There's a beach umbrella and a little chair. So right now I'm at, like in this physical bubble, in this physical space, I am at the beach. I'm at the beach. But if you want to talk about my more specific physical location, I'm also on the beach. All right, so I could be above the beach up here, or I could be under the beach down there as well. But at really just talks about this general area around something. So if I'm at a restaurant, but I'm outside, I'm still at the restaurant, but I'm outside the restaurant, I'm not in the restaurant. All right, everybody getting this? Let me know, give me like a like if this makes sense, or make sure I'm getting some feedback over here that people understand this. But this is why it's important to begin with the situation and then think about how natives might describe that. So I also heard by the beach. So by the beach would typically mean you're kind of like near the beach. Beaches are usually like a larger area, you know. So it's hard to be like you could say you're by the beach if you're outside of that area. Okay. So if the beach is here and I'm standing like in the parking lot of a store next to the beach, yeah, I'm by the beach over here. I'm still by the beach. All right. But if I'm on the beach already, I wouldn't say I'm by the beach. I would say maybe I'm by the purple beach umbrella. So I'm trying to tell my friend, hey, I'm over here. I'm by the purple beach umbrella. So I'm on the beach. My friend says, well, there are lots of, like, the beach is huge. What do you mean you're on the beach? All right. So if I call my friend and I say, hey, I'm at the beach right now, that could be a huge area. So I need to be more specific. Oh, I'm on the beach at the little restaurant inside the toilet of the restaurant. So I'm getting more specific until I can find or have the person like find me. All right. Looks like people are getting it. So prepositions are they're not really that difficult. The difficulty is when people think there's only one way to say something. So again, all these different places, I can still be at the restaurant because I'm in that general area. Okay? Like when I'm in my house, so my house, like if my daughters are looking for me, they say, Dad, where are you? I could just say like, I'm at home. They know I'm at home. They know I'm in the house. So I'm in the house, but they want to know specifically where I am. So I say, oh, I'm in the living room, or I'm in the bathroom, or I'm on whatever. Like I'm in the closet. All right, I want to keep going deeper into this to make sure people understand. But the most important part is that we're learning it like a native speaker. You begin with a situation and then know that there are different ways of expressing that. And so it's not like one is correct. For this is at the restaurant and it's on the restaurant. Okay? So I'm at the restaurant and on the restaurant at the same time. So just for specific places, at is this larger bubble. We get a little bit more specific after that. The prepositions are treacherous, as it says around. Nice to see you there. All right, let's go back and see if we have some more questions here. Let's see. Everyday meditation. Why do you need subtitles? Everyday meditation. I don't know what that means. Hello from Kanagawa, Rocky. What comes to your mind for get when you hear his comment gets to people? His comment makes people. His comment gets to people. All right. Let me erase all this. Give us some more space. Now, for this example, we're going to go backwards. We're going to go from the vocabulary to the situation. All right? So in the previous example, I went from the situation to the vocabulary. Now we're going to begin with the word get. But I want you to think about it like a native speaker. That's the point of this. So if we have the word get, what do we really mean by that? What do we mean by this word get? To understand this, we have to look at different situations. So now we're going from the vocabulary to the situation. So this situation, this situation, this situation, this situation. And by comparing all these, it's easier to understand what get means. So we're looking at like the core meaning of get. And I actually have, I think, multiple videos about even the word get by itself that you can find on the channel for more information about this. So get, let's say I get a present. So this is my friend over here, and they're giving me like a lovely present, and this is me, and I say, oh, thank you. Like, so the present is like coming to me. I'm getting the present, to get the present. Now let's say I'm driving my car, and I'm going back to my house. So this is supposed to be a car. Man, my drawing is just awful today. This is supposed to, I'll just write what it is up here. This is a car. It's supposed to be a car. So I'm driving, and after I was at the office, so this is an office over here, and I'm driving, and I get home. So I get home. So I get a present, or I get home. Now, I don't want to like give a whole bunch of examples because we'll be talking about this all day, but in any example I could give, usually get is talking about movement of one place or one thing to another. So one thing or one place to another, and it could be like a thing moving, or it could be me moving. So if I'm asking for directions, for example, so let's say I am over here and I'm talking to another person and I say to them, I want to go to the beach. I want to go to the beach, so go to the beach. Or another way I could say this is I want to get to the beach. So I want to get to the beach. So I want to move to that place. And so when you're getting something, it's usually movement or control, like passing from one thing to something else. So whenever we get something, so I'm moving from the office to my house, so I get home, or I go from some place to the beach, I get to the beach. So I get to the office. Today I got to the office at 9 o'clock. So I arrived, I took that position in the office. So I was at home, then I was moving, and I got to the office. So all these different meanings, you start to understand what get means. It's like to hold something, to control something. So one thing is moving from one person to someone else, or it could be like an object moving from one place to another place like that. All right. So when we're talking about getting, let me make sure I go back and get that same example. But I think it was, let's see, what was that example? I think it was, yes. So you're talking about like getting to people. Now, if I'm communicating a message to you, again, I can move something like one person is speaking to this other person. So I'm speaking to you. So I am trying to get a message to you. All right, it's the same thing. I want to move a message from here to you. So I'm getting a message to someone. So asking if you understand something, I say, do you get it? Do you get what I'm saying? Is it coming from me to you? Do you get it? All right. So if you want to talk about like something getting to you, there are a couple of slight differences in how this means. Like, let's say someone is bullying me, they're teasing me, they're complaining, they're like, Drew, I don't know, like your breath stinks or something. All right, you're like, or they're saying I'm ugly or whatever. They're like complaining about me. At first, I don't care. I'm just listening like, oh, okay, whatever, I don't care. But they continue to do this every day, and it's starting to get to me. To get to me. Now, this is like it's starting to annoy me. This is like a specific meaning of get to, like to get to something. All right. So it's a little different than talking about like just sending a message. This is actually a negative meaning, like it got to me. So people were complaining. Getting fed up is a different phrasal verb, to get fed up, where you're slowly like increasing more and more. I could be getting fed up in this same example. Where like slowly I'm getting more and more annoyed, more and more angry. It's like I'm eating more and more until I get so full that I burst. That's why we can think about it as like being fed up. So I'm getting more and more energy or pain or something, and now I'm fed up. I'm tired of this, and now I'm angry. But getting to me, usually it just means it's annoying me and it's making me feel uncomfortable, or I don't like it, or something like that. So something is getting to me. So without having more context, I need to know the situation better, but it could be that. So like his message really got to me, like as a positive meaning, or his message really got to me like it made me feel bad. So it could be both of those things. It just depends on the situation. But again, the important thing is we might have a situation, but different ways of expressing that. So one way could be get, and one way could be something else. Just like we had this example up here. So if the situation is me traveling to some place, I could get to that place, or I could go to that place. All right, so get means like the final arrival. I took that position. I took control of that space to get something. All right, looks like we got a lot of good questions over here, and I'm taking a long time on these. So let's see if I may need to jump around over here. Let's see, did I skip that? Right. So learning English grammar from you, glad to hear. Paul says, what is the difference in common sense? He is my friend against he is the friend of mine. Oh, there's no difference there. It's just two different ways of saying something. Again, the situation is I have a friendship with someone. So I could be like, this is my friend or he's a friend of mine. That's it. But there is, if you guys, I don't know if you have seen the movie Donnie Brasco. Donnie Brasco. There's actually a scene in that movie about, like, if I say he's a friend of ours or he's a friend of mine, you know. So friend of ours means like he's connected in the mafia. A friend of mine is like he's just my friend. All right. But for your examples, it means the same thing. So this is why it's always good to get lots of examples from different people, because one person will say, I'd like you to meet a friend of mine. I'd like you to meet my friend. This is my friend. And so they will introduce someone. They're using it's the same situation, but they're talking about just using different vocabulary. All right. Alali says to walk over the bridge or to walk across the bridge. To walk over the bridge or to walk across the bridge. If you're talking about getting from one side of the bridge to the other, you can use both of those things. All right. It doesn't matter. Both of those are the same thing. All right. But again, it's good as you keep getting more examples of these things. Let's see if I skipped anybody. Jim, would you try to use your natural speaking pace for 5 minutes while teaching us? Thanks in advance. Ooh, 5 minutes, that's a long time. But it depends. The difference between how I speak normally and how I speak in these videos, it's not just the speed of the speech. It's also the vocabulary or the references I use. Like if I'm talking with my family or friends or just somebody casually, it's going to be different in many dimensions. So I will be using different, I will like, I don't know, use a quote from a movie or a book from many years ago that people would not know. So I'm communicating at a deeper level than just the vocabulary. So when I'm speaking with my dad, I might say to him, like, you remember that book I read when I was a kid and it talked about this? It's like, it's a lot like this movie that we did, this like other thing in it. And I'm explaining something and it uses some cultural references and I'm speaking a little bit faster. And maybe my pronunciation isn't as clear. I'm blending my words, slurring my speech a little bit more. But like what I do in Fluent for Life is you actually see me having conversations with other people the way I normally speak. And so I'll be talking with people, but I actually show you what I mean by that. So that's like hours and hours of me speaking normally there. So it's more difficult to do it in these videos and have people understand what I'm saying, but I'm very careful about my speech. So I'm not trying to speak really slowly. I could speak even more slowly than this, but most people can understand, like the people who follow my videos, they can understand what I'm saying. Let's see. All right, I think I got that one. All right, yes, pardon me if I'm skipping some of these. I'm just looking through, trying to make sure I get some good ones over here. Adrian says, what about the place in the call center called the floor? I have to say I'm on the floor knowing that the floor is like a room. Well, you can be like, it's the same idea with the restaurant. So if I could be in a box like this, and I'm still like all of these places, anywhere inside this area is inside. So I could be on the wall, I could be on the floor, on the ceiling. I'm still inside this box. And so people will, like if I'm at a casino or a restaurant or a bank or whatever, you can still talk about like I'm on the floor right now. So you wouldn't say, "Hi, I'm in like the building or something," unless you're talking about trying to help people understand what building you're in. But in this case, you can talk about being on the floor. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. All right. Mikhail, thanks a lot. Merry birthday party later to you and your relatives. Well, thank you very much. After get to mandatory. Well, if you're just talking about a location, like I got to, and I'm only talking about that specific situation of arriving at a location. So I got to work to get to a particular place. But if I just got a present from someone, I don't say to there. So I just say I got a present, like I got this marker from my friend. All right, Diego says, hello, draw. I'm here in the job right now. I have stopped only to say hello and to learn from. Yeah, so you would say like to learn a lot from or with your class. Thank you very much. Ronald says, I moved to U.S. soon. So you mean like you will move to the U.S. soon? This is an important class for me. Greetings from Chile. Nice to see you. All right. I don't, says Nils, just use the word get for something I get. I don't really understand get home. So again, get means to take control of something. So even if a friend of mine has a present, they control the present, but the present is for me. So they have the present, they give it to me, I get the present, now I have it. So it just means I've taken control of that thing. So that's a looking at a physical object, like if I give you the marker, so now you get the marker. You have got the marker. You have got the marker. So it just means you're holding or controlling something. So even a gift like that, the person who's giving, so my friend, they give me the present, they give me the marker, now I have got the marker. So they have got the marker, I have got the marker. All right? And so when you're looking at a location, it's the same idea. So right now, I am at work. Like I have got this location over here. Like I have got this parking spot. Okay? And then I get home. So it means I'm like controlling that space. So you can think about it in that way, like you're holding something, you're controlling something, and there's usually some kind of transfer or movement from one thing to another. So a physical thing can move like that, or I could move. I could move somewhere. So I just got here. I got here 10 minutes ago. So I got here, like I'm controlling this particular thing. So just in the same way, so another example like Muhammad just mentioned about like I got a job. So either the job was somebody else's job, and now I have that thing, or the job was created for me, but now I have it. I'm controlling that thing. It's mine. Okay? So it means there's some kind of control or possession. You own that thing, and usually it came from something else. So it was somebody else's. Yes, you can say like you got pregnant. So in that case, yin yang, like I was not pregnant before, but now I have the condition of pregnancy. So I got that. So I did not have it before, and now it is here. So you can get pregnant, you can get married, you can get fired, you can get lots of things really. You can get mad. So right now I'm happy, but I'm getting mad. So I'm becoming that. I'm taking over that thing. So get becomes a very, very useful word, and that's why it's so commonly used, really, in conversation. So people are using it in all these different ways. But like the example I gave before, we have the meaning. The kind of core meaning is usually some transfer or movement from one thing to another. And then you just see all these different examples of that working. So I just got home. I just got to the office. I got to the beach. Hey guys, I'm at the beach. I just got to the beach. All right, so I've taken this position. I'm here. Now I don't own the beach, but it just means I'm like controlling this physical area right there. So if you want to learn more about that, Nils or anybody else, I recommend you go back and watch that video about get. Just search my channel for get, and you should see a couple of different videos, I think. All right. Oh, I understand now. For get to people, I do appreciate it. Yeah. So again, like get to people, just like I'm getting to a location, I can get to somebody. But it could be a good meaning or a bad meaning. I was talking to my son today. He's not doing very well at school. I'm really trying to get to him, like really get through to him. Like I'm trying to make a connection with him that hopefully he'll start doing better in school, or he'll clean up his room or something like that. But we also, as I mentioned before, the getting to someone of like, wow, this sun is really getting to me. It's getting to me over here. So something is coming. It's unwanted, and I don't like that thing. I don't want it to come to me. But now it's finally making me like annoyed or angry or something like that. It's getting to me. So I am getting married, is it right? Yes. So again, like you can get lots of different things. So I can get a new emotional state. I can get a diploma. I can get a job. I can get like a title. I could become the king. So I just became the king. Like now I got that. I got the crown and I got the title from somebody else. So I have got or I have gotten. Well, if you're talking about like right now, I have got something, like I have a marker. So I got the marker is just the regular past tense. I got the marker. And right now, I could say I have a marker or I have got the marker. They mean the same thing. I have got the marker. All right. Let's see. All right, Ruck, he says, oh, I understand. Okay, you got that one. All right, Bruno, wow, not now the phrasal verb get across makes sense. So you send a message or an idea to someone else. Yes, exactly. So I'm trying to get, if I'm trying to get something across to you, it's me speaking to you. So this is like and it's, I think I just mentioned get through, but I should make it a bit more clear by comparing these two things. So you notice I'm using this same example of comparing multiple things. So if I'm talking, so this is me over here, and there's someone else. So if I'm talking to them, like I'm trying to get something across. So to get a message across to someone else. So to send something to someone else. It's just like if we have a bridge, I'm trying to get across the bridge. It's the same idea. So there's like a bridge of space here, and we're trying to get across the bridge. All right. Now, an interesting thing if we use get through. So if there's like a wall here, and the wall could be them like they don't want to listen to me. So this is me trying to talk with my child, like you should clean your room and do your homework, and I'm trying to talk with them, but they're like, no, Dad, I'm not listening to you. So they put up a wall, not like a physical wall, but they're just not listening. So it's like they have a wall. So I'm trying to get through. I'm trying to get through to them. I'm trying to get through to them. I can't get through to my child. I can't get through to my child. It's like I can't get through, and we mean through like the block that they have in their mind. So something is stopping or preventing that. Okay? So I can't get through to them. So usually to get through to someone means there's some kind of block there. It could be a physical thing, like I have maybe a phone connection, and there's actually like the cable is cut, so I can't get through to them. There's a block or some problem with it somehow. All right. Let's see. Okay, and also, let's see, how about to get dressed, for example? Yes, so that would be the same thing. So I can go from naked, so right now I'm in the position, or I have the condition of not wearing clothes. I'm naked. But then I get dressed. So I get dressed. I've become dressed. That's the difference. So you're just talking about like the end result. But we talk about getting, like you're moving to that condition. So if I'm naked and then I'm getting dressed, so I start putting on clothes and now I am dressed. So I have gotten clothes on. So I put some clothes on like this. All right, let me see. Diego. Oh, I got that one already. All right, but Nils, let me know. Hopefully that makes sense over there. Hopefully I got through to you. Konnichiwa, Teresa Zelena. Happy birthday from me and my daughter. Greetings from your hometown. Well, thank you very much. Your lessons are very didactic. Thank you, teacher, says Troyano. Is it similar to offend? If you're talking, well, I can say something one time and be offensive to somebody. But usually if something is getting to me, it's like a repeated thing. So something is like there's a dog in the neighborhood and it keeps barking, rah, 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 rah. Like the first time it barks, I don't care. But if it's barking all day, that will get to me. It will get to me. It will annoy me over time. I get the money, I get time now, I get her phone number, I get something to eat. There you go. So all these are examples of like one thing moving someplace else, or you're taking a different kind of position, something like that. When do we use verb ing? It just means when you're doing it you want to talk about it's happening at that time. So I play could mean in general like I play basketball. Right now I'm not playing basketball. So right now I am playing basketball. So you see the difference? So I've played basketball in the past, or I was playing, so it was at that time. But now I am playing basketball. Right now I'm playing. So the ing, it just means it's happening continuously. All right. Is it right to say, are you home? Yes, that's fine. Are you home? So are you home or are you at home? Both of those are fine. Syed says, I want to make a video for your program and explain. Oh, I want you to make a video for your program and explain how it works, says Syed. What would you like to know about the program that is unclear? That will help me. So I'd love to make a video about Fluent for Life if people want to learn more about it. I know it's a complicated thing to explain just because it's so different from what people normally do to learn languages. But the interesting thing is it's what you do to learn your native language. You just need to do that for learning English. That's really what it is. I got overwhelmed. Yes, so you became overwhelmed. So you had one condition and now you have a different condition. What about trying to get it done? Yeah, and so like to get something finished, like you're talking about moving to that location or to that state. Does I gotta go equal I get to go? No. So this means I have got to go. It means I must go. I get to go means like I'm allowed to do something. So I'm going to the beach and my children get to go too. So I'm allowing them to come with me. All right. So maybe my daughter goes into the girls' bathroom and I can't go in there. I can't get into the girls' bathroom. So like if someone invites me in, like then I get to go into the girls' bathroom. So I get to do something, like I'm allowed to do it, or it's now possible for me to do it. Let's see. How are you, teacher? Says I'm doing very fine. Hello. Juan Carlos says, hi, I understand when people talking, but isn't easy to answer. What can I do? It's really a lot of what I'm talking about in this, which is learning more English as a first language. And so it's training you, it's giving you the habit of communicating without thinking or translating. So if you learn English as a first language, you get English as a first language lessons, and that's what I'm doing in these videos. That's how you get fluent. Happy Snail says, blank of homegrown and organic fruits and vegetables, as well as handmade crafts, excuse me, and jewelry are available for purchase at the Springdale Community Market. I see what you're saying. It's a multiple choice. So varieties of homegrown. So it's multiple things. So variant would mean only one. And varies is talking about that's like a verb, like something varies between one thing and something else, like it varies to vary. YD is not correct. Various. So the word various is only used without the of. So we use varieties of as one thing. So varieties of people, varieties of vegetables or something like that. But various is not. So various, you would just say various homegrown and organic fruit. So this is sometimes they're just examples of when we add that additional word, and it's not always used. You don't always have to do that, and it can depend on the word. But these are things you learn from example from that, but that's why it would be incorrect. So we don't say various of, we just say various homegrown. But it's varieties, we're talking about varieties of that particular thing. We want to talk about like that group. Let's see, no, I think I get through to me today. You think you get through to yourself? So you can think, let's see, you've gained some weight, dude, Gustavo says. Is that a bad thing? I actually have put on some weight, but like, hopefully it's like it's all muscle, you know. Actually, there's quite a bit of fat too. But all right, but get along with still doesn't have sense or make sense. So get along with. So like, again, I could be, you're still thinking about it as moving from one position to another. So if I'm here, let's say we'll look at like two different examples. So this one is like me and this other person over here, and there's like space between us. So we do not get along. So we're not like getting along with being like next to each other. But here, you got two friends. It's like, hey man, how are you? You know, and they're so they do get along. So they get along, and they don't get along. So along usually means like right next to something like that. So to get along with someone meaning to be in a friendly relationship, or you are friendly, you like someone to get along with, or to not get along with someone. So again, like it's like, am I getting next to them? Do I want to be close to that person, or do I not? So you can think about, this is the physical idea of that, but it's still holding this position or not holding that position. All right, hopefully that makes sense. All right. Who versus whom? All right, so if we're talking about like a person or the direction of something. So like here's again our person. So he is Tom. We'll just say. So he is Tom, and here we use like he. And so like if my question is like who is he? So who is he? I'm talking about like the person themselves. But I'm not talking about anything going to that person. So if I'm talking about like sending something to him, it just means I'm moving it to that person. So to whom should I send the present? So to whom? So whom, like her or him or them over there? Okay, so we're talking about usually direction of something like that. And so whom would go with like him or her or them, just depending on who you're speaking about. So if the answer to the question is like he is doing something, then the question is who. But if we're talking about like direction, I don't want to explain like subject and object, but it's just think about it like this. So if we're just talking about the person by themselves, like, oh, who is that? So I see somebody, who is that? Oh, he is Tom. He is Tom. But if I have to give something to someone, then like that person gets that thing. So I'm giving it to him or to her. I could say the person's name. I'm giving it to Tom. But this is how you can check this yourself. So if we're giving something to him, whom are we giving it to, or to whom? Okay. So you can correct that yourself, especially when you're writing. But natives will make that mistake often, like they will say who when they should be saying whom, and nobody really cares. Again, the language gets worse over time. So when people are writing, they will use it incorrectly. But in conversations, people will use it incorrectly, and people don't really care very much. All right. Handsome says a vlog. Well, thank you very much. Have to and must, might, please, what's the difference? Well, if I have to do something and I must do something, those are the same. But might is a different thing. Might is like maybe. Maybe I will do something. So I might go to a party tonight, but maybe I will not. So I might do something or I might not. It's just maybe. But if I have to do something, then I will definitely do it. I have to do that thing. Like right now, I have to breathe. I have to breathe. All right. It's not like I might breathe. I have to breathe. I must do that thing. All right. So those are two different things. All right. Thank you. I can't read the. I'm guessing. I don't know if that's Chinese or Japanese. Let's see. Syed says. I mean, fluent for life. Yeah. Syed, let me know what questions you have about the program. That would help me know what to explain. So is there anything you don't understand about the problem or the program or how it works or whatever? Let me know. Luas says, what is better, to read books or to watch movies? It's not like one is better than the other. You should be doing both. But I usually recommend shorter clips of things, like shorter YouTube videos about something, rather than watching a long movie. And I do this, like if I'm just trying to relax and watch something, I can watch a movie. But if I'm trying to build fluency, then I need lots of varied examples. So watching a movie, it's just more difficult, like to do that, because I need to repeat that thing in different ways. So I got you as different meanings, right? Can you give some examples? Yes. So like I got you. Like, let's say I physically grab my daughter, like now I'm controlling you, like I got you. So I can talk with my child like that. I got you, or I got you, like I understand what you're saying. I got you. So if a friend is explaining something to me, he's telling me about a problem or something, I'm just saying, yes, I understand. I got you. I understand. All right. Or you could also, like, similarly, like I got someone, like I understood who they were as a person or who they are. So they're like I heard maybe they're a bad person or something, but then I meet them and like, yeah, I got who he is. Like I understood something about him. Nicken says, hello. I get across. That's right. Let's see. Hello. I make it to your live show. Glad to hear it. Along means close to each other. Yes, typically they're like right next to something. So if I'm walking along a street, like I'm like, here's the street and I'm following the street, or I could be walking along a river. I'm following the river next to it, to walk along with something like that. So if I'm getting along with someone, you can think about that, about being physically close to someone. So if you like someone, you will probably be closer to them. If you don't like them, you will be further apart. So got it. Thanks, teacher, says Lolly. Teacher. You got teacher and then teacher. All right. For whom this phone? You could say like this phone is for whom. Or you could say, for whom is this phone? For whom? It sounds a little bit awkward, and that's why people don't like using whom. So it sounds awkward to people to use it that way, and that's why people just say who, or like whose phone is this? You would hear that probably more often. Whose phone is this? But it would be correct to say this phone is for whom? For whom? Talk about from whom. Is that okay? Yes, and it's the same way. So if something is coming from someone else, it's coming from him or coming from her. So we would use whom if we don't know. So if you have a question about that, just look at this. Like, what is the pronoun we're using? What is the word? Are we saying he or she, or are we saying him or her? Okay. So like, he gave me the phone. All right, so he gave me the phone. But I can also say the phone is from him. So from whom? Oh, this phone is from whom? From whom? So if I say who sent me the present? Who sent me the present? Oh, he sent me the present. So I know I can check if that's correct or not. He sent me the present. She sent me the present. They sent me the present. So then I know I can say who sent me the present. But if this present is from whom, it's like from him, from her. So it's easier to remember especially if you're writing and if you have time to think about that. It's easier to, let's see. All right, gerund versus infinitive. Rose, give me an example. Give me an example of like specific specific things, because like gerund versus infinitive is like, it's such a big topic. It's much easier to understand it from specific situations, because sometimes like I think I covered this in the previous video. So the last live video I did, where I was talking, what was I talking about? I can't remember the exact example now, but if you watch the previous video, I was talking about that, and there was one, it looked like a gerund versus an infinitive, but actually it was not, I think. Now I can't remember what the specific example was, but if you watch that video, you will see that. But for the purposes of this video, give me like a specific word in a sentence. That will be most helpful for me and for you, because I can explain for a particular situation. So I don't want to teach like gerund as a thing, because there are lots of different ways you might use that. So it's better to look at it for a particular situation. It will help you understand and use it fluently. Aaron says, it is not that is her. Sinatra called his wife on stage and says, that is she. That is, I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea. All right, is it Fluent for Life get me for C1? Is that that's your question? Fluent for Life will get you fluent. And again, we're using the word get. Now, as far as like if you need to pass a specific test, or there are like things you need to do, many of our members, they do well on tests if they take them, but we don't have a specific like test prep thing. Or if you're just talking about specific communication levels, then yes, like we get you conversationally fluent. That's the point of the program. So we want to basically take you from understanding the language. So it's for people who already know a lot of English, because everything in the program is taught in English. But it's taught using English as a first language lessons. So I help you understand the language like a native, the way I'm doing in these videos here. So if you want to communicate fluently, that's what we do in Fluent for Life. So whether you're like, I don't know how you would evaluate that, but like it's like the fluent level where you can have communication and whatever you need to use English for. If you need to communicate in English correctly and fluently and automatically, that's what we help you do. So try to think about it that way. Start thinking versus start to think. Okay. Yeah, in this situation, there's no difference. And often, as I say, there are different ways of expressing the same thing. So I started thinking something. Like I started thinking maybe I should quit my job. I started thinking that. Or I could say in the past, like I started to think, like at this moment, I started to think maybe I should quit my job. So there's really no difference in this case between those things. There's just sometimes I have to think about that when like you could only use one or the other, and it's harder to just like give a rule about that, because often there isn't. It just depends on the word. Like the example we got earlier about varieties of something rather than various something. Like to try to explain the rule for that, it's not really helpful for you to try to remember a rule. Like if it's an adverb, you do this, and then if it's an adjective like that, it's better to just get the multiple varied examples of that to learn it the same way a native does. All right, glad to hear it. Okay, Aran says the past two videos are rich in examples. Yes, and so I want to give you many more examples, and that's really why I try to focus even on something like a small topic and give you lots of examples of that thing, because if you can do that many times, then your fluency really develops very quickly. I always called someone I don't know buddy, says Rika. I always called someone I don't know buddy. You can use that like guy or friend or buddy, even for people who are not your friends or that you don't know. But buddy is it's usually a term for little kids. So it's a little, like some people don't like the term. You could like if I just meet somebody, I'm like, hey buddy, like maybe he might be angry about that. So it's a little, it could be, maybe even if you don't think about it that way, the other person might. So the other person might be offended by buddy, just because it's like a little kid thing. There's even a toy, I think, released back in the 1980s called My Buddy. You should Google that. It's called My Buddy. So Google My Buddy toy, and you will see that. And so people like, they would recognize that as like, it's like a little kid, kind of young person term. So some people can use that, but some people do not. I don't really recommend that. But a commonly used expression in cover letters is to whom it may concern. Yeah, because it's like you're sending something to somebody. And so we don't know who, like which person. So is it for him or for her or for them? We don't know. So that's why it's to whom. All right. So if it's to you, like we know we're specifically talking to you, I know who that is. So like who is receiving this message? All right. But if I'm talking about like the direction moving to that, then to whom? To whom am I sending this? But remember, again, in conversations, you will often hear like to who. Like I need to send this, like who do I need to send this to? And it's just because it's easier and faster to say. That M at the end of whom, it slows down the sentence. And people know what you're talking about. It's just you're being like a stickler for the grammar. To be a stickler, let me see, a stickler for something means you really want to follow the rules and do it correctly. So for writing, I definitely recommend you do that. But in regular conversations, it's a little less important. Exclusive relationship meaning, and give me more examples. Exclusive relationship meaning. Like what does exclusive relationship mean? So exclusive means like there are different meanings for that idea of exclusive relationship. So one meaning could be like, I'm only dating this one person and that person is only dating me. So right now my wife and I are in an exclusive relationship. So like I'm only with my wife and she is only with me. It's exclusive. So we exclude everybody else. It's exclusive. Now the opposite of that would be like an open relationship where we might have like other people coming over and doing, I don't know, you guys can figure that out. But that's one meaning of an exclusive relationship. Another meaning is like you could have a company where they offer some kind of exclusive thing that's, again, it's only for this group of people, but maybe it's more than one person. So a company could have an exclusive relationship with lots of different people, but it just means to exclude other people. So it's not like inclusive, we want to exclude different people. We want to remove other people from that. All right, I stopped to smoke. I stopped to smoke might mean I was walking. Yes, that's correct, Ryan. So if you stopped, yes, so that's like, thank you. That's one example of where you would not use like a gerund in that sentence. It would mean something else. So very good example. Let me put that up here for people. So Rose was mentioning before the gerund versus infinitive example. So I stopped to smoke versus I stopped smoking. So to smoke versus smoking over here, we're talking about two very different things. So as Aran said, like I stopped to smoke, this could mean I'm walking down the street and I stop for a moment, I smoke a little bit, and then I keep walking. So I stopped to smoke. So I stopped in order to do something. And again, it's not so helpful to learn a bunch of rules like this, like all the words that we use for that. It's much better to just get lots of examples and understand it naturally over time. And then you will use it fluently. But like you can say like, I stopped to do something, all right? So I'm walking and I stopped so I can do this other thing over here. But if I stopped smoking, this means now you don't smoke at all anymore. I don't smoke anymore. I stopped smoking. It's a very good example. All right, let's see. Bob says, I wonder if reading a lot of notes will help me to become more fluent or not. The goal, let's put it this way. So the goal for, I think, most people watching these videos is fluency. And there are many ways to get there. So one of them could be reading. One of them could be watching movies. One of them could be, listening to music or something like that. One of them could be, reading comic books or playing video games or something. So the point is not the medium, like book or video or whatever. The point is, do you understand the information like a native or not? So I could read a textbook and it doesn't help me understand, so I don't get fluency. I can watch a video that I don't understand and it doesn't give me fluency either. So I could, I don't know, like there are lots of things I can do. I can go to English classes and still not get fluent because I don't actually understand what I'm learning. So the lessons are bad, it's hard to understand, so I don't feel confident about speaking. So when people ask me about these different meanings or different media, it doesn't matter what the media is. The point is, or what the medium is, the point is, are you understanding that thing or not? So right now you are learning with me through video, but you could read something and learn from that in the same way if you understand the lesson. So if you understand there's a text example or a picture or a video or you're listening to something, all of them are fine if you understand that. So fluency comes as you understand something. So it's not from you like speaking a lot and repeating things that you don't really understand. It comes from understanding first, and then you feel confident about using something, and then you want to speak. So I'm always telling people they should speak. The goal is speech. The goal is fluent speech. But you get there by understanding. You got it? So you have to get it. You have to get here from understanding like a native, rather than trying to think about the language logically. Greetings from Dubai. It's your boy Sospiter. You are such an amazing teacher. Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us. Rican again. If you read the notes while speak aloud, it will help your oral fluency. Maybe. It's not about like reading aloud or typing or listening or whatever. It's, do you understand the information or not? So you could spend 10 years listening to lessons and still not speak fluently. All right, so it doesn't matter if you're taking lessons or not if they don't actually help you understand like a native. All right, so Lali says, I stopped drinking beer. Yes, you could say that as well. I stopped drinking beer. All right, Max says, how to retain most of the information from a chapter. Like, one way is to do summaries of paragraphs of the chapter. What are your ways? If you're asking me, if I'm trying to get a summary of something, I would have maybe, you can have a larger summary of this whole thing. So here's one summary, and then maybe I have like individual pieces of parts of those things. It just depends on how complicated something is. Like a good, and also the kind of book. If it's like a nonfiction book, then usually each chapter should have a specific idea and just focus on that. And so usually you have a chapter summary. Here's the point. Here are like the supporting points of that. Here is the proof of that. So for me, it's like, I want you to learn English as a first language. That's the only thing I teach. And then everything else is just like proof about that. So if you had to summarize what I do, it's just learning English as a first language. All right. But I might talk about different ways, like how that applies to grammar or vocabulary or whatever. And so that's what usually my videos are talking about. Let's see. I'll drink tomorrow. Well, you would say, I will drink tomorrow. I will drink tomorrow. Our Adnan says, what is the most appropriate way to understand like a native? You are such an amazing teacher. Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Again, to understand like a native means that you don't have translations and explanations and vocabulary lists and grammar rules and things like that in your head. You just get it. You just understand how something works. If you watch the 10 things every English learner should know about fluency, I think I made that video a week and a half ago. Watch that video, and it covers everything about like all these different steps. So these are the different things that everybody should know about fluency. And so if you're thinking about grammar rules and translations, specifically for learning grammar, you should be doing what I'm talking about in this video, which is just trying to compare different things in, whatever, like we're talking about in or on, or we're talking about to smoke versus smoking for this situation. And usually the vocabulary is appropriate for a particular situation. So I want you to really think about, I repeat this over and over and over again, but I say it in different ways because it's really important to understand it, really understand it in situations. So you really have to think about vocabulary connected with a particular situation. Yes, I agree, Japanese water time. There we go. Yes, I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. A little bit kind of sick today. I think something's going around my house. All right, Paul says, could you explain, please, the constructions with rather, whether, or either? Rather, whether, or either. Well, they sound the same, but they are different. All right. Let's say we have two things over here. We'll draw. Let's say this is an apple, and here is a banana. That's a pretty good picture of a banana, I think. All right. So which would you rather have? Rather. Which would you rather have? So I would rather do this. So rather, in this case, it's just like I prefer that. I want this one. So I would rather do this. Or I could say, rather than the apple, I want the banana. Rather than. So when we're talking about two different options, the one I want, and we can compare them, this, not that. This rather than that. So that's a rather. All right. Now either means both of these options are fine. So if a friend of mine says, which one do you want? Do you want the apple or the banana? I say, I don't care. Either is okay. Either is okay. I talked about this same point actually in a video a while ago. So we have either of these things. So either is okay. Either is okay. So either is okay, or I could also say both are fine. So it means the same thing. Both are fine, or both are okay. So I don't care which one. So either is okay. And what was the other one you said? Let's see. What was that? Whether. So whether is usually we're talking about different choices. So whether I go to let's see. So I don't know, and there could be different ways you would use it, and this is why it's tricky to look at comparing just different vocabulary words by themselves without any context. But so whether, like as just an example sentence, I don't know if I will go to India or not. I don't know whether I will go to India or not. So this is like there's a choice in there somewhere. I don't know whether I will do it or not. All right? Or I could say like, whether I go to India or Nepal, just as an example. So whether I go to India or Nepal, I will have fun. And so like here, like I'm again looking at two different options, but maybe it doesn't matter which of those is, I will have fun either way. Either way. So either I go to India or I go to Nepal, but whether I go to Nepal or India, I will have fun. Okay. So it just as a very simple look at these specific words without looking at more specific examples in context, that's a basic understanding of that. All right. What is better read books? I don't understand what that means. Better than what? Grammar rules can impair fluency even in my own language. Yes. And so if you try to think about some things logically, like I find if I really try to think about English grammar logically, some of the words it doesn't make any sense why we do that. And that's why it makes it makes a hard time for people trying to learn the language. They're like, why do you do that? And native speakers are like, that's a good question. I don't know why we do that. That's a dumb thing to do. So it happens. All right, and then says, I will visit the video. Thank you. Rican says, those three should be very useful. They always appear in the article. In what article? You mean in articles in general? So they always appear in articles. Rodrigo says, hi, teacher. Thank you for your amazing job. I'd like to know the better way to develop an accent like a native. All right. So just like everything else, as I was talking about in this video about learning English as a first language, when you learn English as a first language, instead of trying to get a single example, like here's the example again, let's say we have a Spanish word, and so we're learning going from Spanish into English, and then if we don't maybe know that example, we have a hard time. We can't maybe remember this word. Like I know a word in Spanish, I'm trying to remember the word in English. I can't remember that. But in English, we begin with a situation. I probably shouldn't use S for Spanish. We'll say span, and this is for situation. So we begin with a situation, and we're looking at different ways of expressing that. So the vocabulary, the English vocabulary for that. So this video has given you lots of examples of that. Now, it works the same way with pronunciation. So if we have a particular word we're trying to say, for example, so the word or phrase or whatever becomes the situation, and then the vocabulary is the different native speakers and the way they might say that. So if I have the word is, pie. So I've given this example before. It's a very simple word, but people might pronounce it differently. So people who have followed my channel for a while will know when I was a younger, maybe like 10 years old or something, I don't remember exactly, but my family would go to this other family's house and we would have some food together, and the wife of that guy, she always made pie. And so I say it, so I say the word as pie, and maybe my dad, he would say like pie. It sounds similar. But this lady was from, somewhere in the southern United States, like Georgia or something. And she said it sounded more like pie. Yeah, want some pie? Some pie? Some pie? And so you can take this idea with the English as a second language approach. Usually you have a teacher and then there's a student. And so the teacher will give something like a pronunciation of a particular word, and then that's all they get. And so the student then goes into the real world, and there are actually all these different ways of pronouncing that word. And so they're not prepared for that. So you need to hear lots of different examples of how people would say things in order to develop your pronunciation. So as like an individual speaking your native language, you develop a natural native accent in your native language because you're getting that. It's a combination of all these different people around you and your natural, like your speaking equipment, your speaking voice. So me, like this is how I speak normally. By the shape of my nose, it's like a little bit nasally, like just a little bit, just because of how my nose looks. So I can listen to different native speakers without looking at them and tell like what they look like, And so you can get an idea of like the different ways people sound by how they look, and also it's these different influences on them. So for you, as you want to learn to pronounce words more like English, this means if you want to sound natural, you really need to get lots of different examples of different native speakers. Okay, so this is why even when people ask me for private lessons, I don't teach any private lessons, because you need to have lots of different examples. You need lots of different native speakers in order to develop fluency. It's supposed to prepare you for the real world. You need the variety in how you learn so that the real world is a lot easier. There will be people who mumble, people who speak clearly, people who have a high voice or a low voice or use different vocabulary. You need to be prepared for that, okay? So what we do for developing people getting an accent, having them sound more natural, this is what we do in Fluent for Life, but also in Frederick, which you can click on the link in the description below this video to find. That's an app that takes you through the pronunciation, so it's just my voice for right now. But you can learn to understand the same pronunciation rules natives have. So if you want to just learn pronunciation and improve your listening, get Frederick. But if you really want to be prepared for real conversations, that's what we do in Fluent for Life. All right. Let's see. So Lala says, I can understand you very well, but when I watch an American movie, I can't understand. I'm wondering why. Yes, it's because it's different. It's a different language. So I'm speaking... It's really like textbook English. So the English that you are used to as an English student, because I know what you learned in your English classes, but then I use that English to teach you real American or British or whatever, that kind of English. So I need to prepare you. I can't do it all in these videos on YouTube because I need more than my voice. I need lots of different native speakers to do that. So that's what we do in Fluent for Life. Remember, it's a different kind of English. It's almost like a different language. There's the classroom English, and there's the English of the real world. It's probably the same thing in your language too. So how your teachers will tell you to speak, or how you might learn, growing up in school, and then all the slang and idioms and other things that you learn outside of school. It's two different languages. All right, I can also say either is fine. Yes, so either is fine. So either is okay, either is fine. And let's see, why are we using get in for car but get on for the bus? You could say like get in the bus, but typically it's like the like stepping up onto something like that. And maybe I'm just making that up, but getting into a car, it's almost like you are physically getting into that. You could be getting into a boat or getting into something else, but just for larger vehicles, we say getting on something. But it's probably because you're still like standing up in order to do it. I don't know what the origin for that is or why we do it that way, but that's how I think about that. And if you think about it that way, it's easier to remember. All right, Jaslyn says, then whether and either could be the same. It depends on the situation. All right, so whether it rains or not, I will still come to the party tonight, whether it rains or not. So even if it rains, so either it rains or it does not rain, it doesn't matter, either is fine, I will still come to the party. So you can use those words in particular situations that are the same, but remember, you don't want to just like memorize a word and that's like the meaning for everything. Like it's vocabulary with particular situations. Let's see. All right, so Paul again, either her dad or mom will be at this meeting. Yes, that's fine. So you would not say like whether her dad, because that's like it's a condition of something. Like I don't know if I will do that or not. I don't know whether I will do that or not. But in your case, that's correct. So you would say either, like so either one of them will be there. All right. So maybe both, or we're just talking about either, like one or the other. Iller says, sub Drew, if I can describe or to tell definition, if word, I can't recall easily. Does it mean I need to? I don't know. There's a lot of errors in that sentence. I don't quite understand what you're saying, but let's see. If I can describe or to tell definition, if word, but can't recall easily. Yeah, that would mean you are not fluent. So remember, like fluency is something you can feel. You know if you're fluent or not. But remember that you are fluent in particular vocabulary. So you know something well and you can use it fluently, you feel confident about it, or you do not. So if you look at your total vocabulary, all of the grammar you know, all of the words and everything, some of it will be fluent for you. Like you know how to use it, you have no trouble. Maybe you can talk with your co-workers about particular things for your job, but you cannot do that for casual conversational things. So you are fluent about some things and not others. So you don't really become fluent in the language, you become fluent in pieces of it. And so you become fluent one piece at a time as you learn to understand something new. And so you feel more confident about it, and then you can use it. But you know if you feel confident about it or not. So if I need to say something in a conversation, but I stop myself because I don't feel confident, it means I'm not fluent in that. So I can recognize that. Some things I feel good about that, or I do not feel good about that. Either often used on making a choice or to make a choice. Yes, so like either, I will have either this or that. So would you like this thing or that thing? So either means you can't have both. So you have like this thing or that thing. You can do either. So if you can only have one or the other, it just means either. All right, teacher, how can I find a book to teach me with my studies? I don't recommend a book to learn with your studies. Watch my videos. Just watch the videos. Watch like a bunch of my videos on YouTube. And you will get this idea that you need to understand like a native. It's not a book that you're looking for. You just need to understand English more like a native. And you will get that information maybe from books, maybe from videos, maybe from, whatever, audios or something like that. You need to practice more to improve your listening, says Mohammed. Really, it's about variety. When people talk about like practicing their listening, it's really about getting lots of variety of information. So if I can hear a speech done by different people, that's better than just listening to the same speech again and again. So you should get some repetition, but the variety, the naturally varied review, as I call it, that's much more helpful for you, and that will get you fluent faster. All right, Kentucky accent is the worst for me. I got some friends from Kentucky. All right, Lala says, okay, thanks, Rican. I am wondering, do we have tips that can describe one sentence much longer but without any commas? One sentence much longer but without any commas. I don't understand. You're asking if it's possible to do that or something else. I don't know. Mohammed says on a ship. Yes. So like if you're on a ship, on a boat, then typically we say you're getting on something, but you could also be getting in a cabin of the boat. So you could be on the boat and in the boat at the same time. All right, Order says, hi, and Luke says, do you plan to make a video for phonics patterns, sir? Luke, we have a whole program for that. It's called Frederick, and you can download it in the link below this video. So if you want to learn all of the phonics steps and hear the pronunciations of everything over 2,000 words and sentences, just get that. Said, if I missed something, I got a lot of questions over here, so just post it again. And Rand says, sometimes humor in language is not easy, such as jokes. Yes, and so you can have, especially like puns. So a pun is where I take the word, so it means like the same thing. It could be like night with a K, K-N-I-G-H-T, versus night, like sleeping at night. And so I could make a joke about that. Like a kid's joke would be, why are elephants always ready to travel? I think I've actually told this, like for describing this thing on a previous video. But yeah, so why are elephants always ready to travel? Why are elephants always ready to travel? See if anybody remembers the answer to that. Oh my goodness, we're at 97, almost 100 minutes. Goodness gracious. If you have not liked the video already, click the like button. Click the like button. So I'll draw a quick elephant. I'll answer my own question here because maybe people don't know. So here's an elephant. All right, here's an elephant. So why is an elephant always ready to travel? Because they have a trunk. So here, this is a pun, a dad joke, as some people sometimes call it. The trunk here, so this is the same word, trunk, as like a box for traveling. Now, maybe like younger people don't like travel with a trunk anymore, but like years ago, people would, before we had suitcases and things like that, people would have a trunk like that. So why is an elephant always ready to travel? Because they have a trunk. Okay. So yes, so this is an example where I can make a joke about something and it's relying on two different meanings of the same word. All right. Let's see. Akif says, is English writing connected with good fluency? Well, if you understand something, then you can communicate correctly. And with that correct communication, you can speak or you can write something. Both of those are fine. Tuscan, all good drawing, yes. But it could be maybe like, I think the female elephant does not have a tusk. Actually, I don't know if that's true or not. Let's see, Nandini says, Teacher Drew, thank you for the excellent lesson. Could you explain which is correct? The secret to communicating is, or the secret to communicate is? Well, it depends on the situation, but you would probably want to say the secret to communicating is, or the secret to communication is. You can use both of those things. All right, so the secret to something like the secret to communicating well, or the secret to good communication. All right, Lala says, sorry, I have to go. Thanks, teacher, and I see you. All right, so remember, the natural thing to do is to begin with a word in your native language, and then try to think about what that word is in English, and then try to get a translation or a definition of it. So I know it's hard to stop doing that and start doing something different, but I promise you, when you start learning more like a native, so learning English as a first language, it will become much easier for you. And you will recognize things like this, where the word trunk doesn't mean anything by itself. The word trunk means something when it's connected to a situation. So you can connect the trunk to this situation or connect it to this situation. Or we could even connect it with another situation like this. So this is the trunk of a tree down here. So the word trunk, like this is the trunk here, we can also, in a similar way, here's your body. So this area right here is also your trunk. It's like the bottom part that's holding it up, so similar to a tree. So here we have 4 different situations that aren't really related to each other. But this is why it's important to understand English as a first language. So when native children are learning it, they learn, usually like they would learn like trunk of a tree and trunk of an elephant, like that. And then maybe they would learn this trunk, although lots of people, they might just call this a chest or something, like a treasure chest. And maybe some kids would hear this also, your trunk. But it's important, like natives learn these one at a time. They're connecting, oh, okay, trunk means this. So the first time a child hears the word trunk, it's like they're a non-native speaker. It's only after they start getting more examples that they think like, okay, well, that's interesting. Words don't really mean anything by themselves. It's only when they're connected to something else. Well, that's interesting. It says around only the male Asian elephant, but not the African one. Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember. I think, and maybe there's some small jungle elephants that don't have them. I don't know. But hopefully this makes sense. So you will want to think about vocabulary by itself, but we don't do that as a native speaker. And I want you to be thinking about that. Like when someone says, what does this word mean? You should be thinking, it depends on the situation. So what does trunk mean? Well, I don't know. Are you talking about an elephant trunk or a tree trunk or this kind of trunk or that kind of trunk? What are you talking about? And as you start thinking more like that, then you will really start feeling more confident about speaking, because you will own the language the same way natives do. I don't want you to just kind of be like borrowing the language. It should be your language too. And you can make it your language if you learn English as a first language. All right, pretty easy. All right, I think we got to, let's see. Rican says, recently I had an English test that is to summarize a written text. It showed me a long article of around 500, I guess, words, and I had to use only one sentence to describe the whole story. So like a one-sentence summary of something. Well, that's a good idea. It's another form of naturally varied review. You can look at like different people describing something in a different way. You could have a one-sentence thing. There's a series, I think, on YouTube. I think maybe Wired magazine. I don't know what it is, but if you Google like five different levels of explaining something. It's a pretty popular series, but it's an example of naturally varied review. So there's like, here's an expert explains something, and then they explain it to like an adult, they explain it to a child, and you can hear like how they explain something in different ways. It's again more naturally varied review. So everything I'm telling you to do, it's the same thing you do naturally in your native language, but just do it for English. It's that simple. All right, now I'm going to lose my voice over here, but thank you all for joining me. It has been a pleasure. If I did not get to your questions, I think, Syed, send us an email, info@englishanyone.com, if you have questions about Fluent for Life. Let me know, or anyone else who doesn't maybe understand something about the program. I'm continuing to refine it and make sure people understand how it works so they can really benefit from it. But really, the idea is very simply to understand English like a native so you speak fluently. So we will replace the bad habits and the bad thinking in your head from learning English as a second language and make you learn English as a first language. And then you will speak confidently. All right, let's see if we have any final things. As Brazilians get the example of it depends on as a very important example because they tend to say up. It depends on, yeah. Depends on. All right, thank you much for your time, says Nils, and thanks, says George. Nice to see everybody there. Again, thank you for joining me. If you do know other people who would enjoy these videos, please recommend them and have a fantastic, let's see, Bob, remember farewell is one word. Farewell, farewell. If you're talking about like to fare well, that's like that's a different thing. But if you're saying goodbye, then farewell. All right, so farewell to you all out there. So thank you, God bless you. Watch over your familia as well. Yes, I'm always watching over them. Happy 43, yes. 43! Hopefully we get some more. So now I've been teaching, man, like half my life. Half my life! Oh my goodness, almost half my life. But thank you all. If you'd like to learn more about any of the programs, really, especially Frederick and Fluent for Life, you can click on the links in the description. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.